Welcome back, everyone, for another Expert Insight series. And I'm your host again, Christopher Bonanno, along with our expert speaker, Sridhar Ilinda. And we're both from the Customer Success Specialist team here on the observability side at Cisco. And today we're going to talk more about achieving seamless observability, and the products that we're going to talk about. Integration between is going to be Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes. And this is going to be more of an overview as well, how to get it set up, how to deploy it. And we're going to start going into more of the use cases. We do have a second in this series session coming up on the 20th. So please stay tuned for that and join again for that, going over all of the use cases and where you can put this powerful setup to use. And for now, let's go ahead and start getting into how to set it up and what it can do for you. So as some housekeeping items, we're going to assume you understand lightly at least what Splunk AppDynamics is. If you're not sure or less sure about ThousandEyes, don't worry. We're going to explain more of what that is and what it can do for you. And then we're also going to assume that you have some understanding of the AppDynamics and how EUM works, but at the same time, we'll cover a little bit of that too. There are going to be recordings of not only this, but other recordings on our YouTube page. So if there's something that you're really unsure about, we can paste the link out to the YouTube channel and you can get caught up, maybe even by the next session. So if you feel like you're kind of things are going over your head, don't worry, stay tuned, stick with it. We'll get you up to speed before no time. To be polite to Shri, we're going to keep everybody on mute, but your questions are very important to us. Please put them into the chat or the Q&A. The Q&A will preserve that question and not make it slide up as more and more people have responses to put. So it's always best to use the Q&A section of WebEx, but if we see it in the chat, either myself or our good friend and colleague, Sai Rudravaram, will be on here as a panelist to help you through whatever questions you have. And then towards the end, we're going to have a Q&A where you can go over more in-depth questions, maybe even take you off of mute and let you explain what your situation is. And then, kind of as always, whenever content's being created, that created content is meant to be used by and it is owned by the company that created it. So, Cisco wouldn't be too happy with us, just giving this to be recreated by somebody else. But at the same time, we're here for you guys. We want you guys to be successful with the product. So do hang out and let's start going through the content. Shri, if you want to go ahead and take over, I'll let you get going on the agenda.
Thanks so much, Chris. And hello, good day, everyone. Like Chris mentioned, my name is Sridhar, and I am a customer success specialist here at Cisco. So let's look at the agenda for today. In today's session, I will provide an overview of Splunk AppDynamics and ThousandEyes. From a ThousandEyes perspective, since I assume most of the folks who are joining are from AppDynamics, I will dig a little deeper into what ThousandEyes is, what it does. Next, I'll talk about the benefits you get by integrating both these solutions, right? And finally, I will cover some of the prerequisites and the deployment steps that are needed. And I'll do a quick demo on how to get started, right? Like how to integrate these two solutions and what kind of data or metrics that are exchanged between both the solutions. And as Chris mentioned, in our next session, which is about in 2 weeks from now, we will look at specific use cases and some of the troubleshooting steps, etc. we will cover in an upcoming session. Today's session is all about an overview and how to integrate and the deployment steps that are required. So let's start with an overview. Again, I just want to start with what is AppDynamics, right? As most of you are familiar, AppDynamics is an observability platform that provides end-to-end visibility into the performance of applications, infrastructure, end user, as well as business performance. So it uses real-time machine learning and automation to help businesses like you identify and resolve performance issues, secure applications, as well as optimize the end user experience right across both your hybrid as well as cloud environments. This global view across application landscape allows you to quickly navigate through the distributed application into call graphs and exception reports that individual hosts normally generate. So like Splunk AppDynamics provides a controller tenant to collect, store, analyze, and baseline the performance data collected by agents. And the controller tenant UI is available for you to view and manage this information. So yeah, I mean, that's about in a high level what is AppDynamics, and let's understand what is ThousandEyes now. So basically in today's world or in environments, right, as you know, the cloud is your new data center, and the SaaS applications are the new application stack, right? Basically everyone are working from home, so basically home is your new office, as well as internet is your new network. So while these solutions like cloud, working from home, internet, everything gives the flexibility and agility, but the resulting ecosystem of external dependencies and third-party services creates significant operational blind spots for your IT environment. And this is where ThousandEyes help you. And it is a platform that provides you digital experience monitoring across the cloud and internet and gives you end-to-end visibility for your network performance, right? So you can use vantage points, or in other words, basically like agents. You can gather network as well as application data by scheduling tests, creating some snapshots, and then when needed, you can share those snapshots with your service providers and other stakeholders. So again, to summarize, ThousandEyes provides digital experience monitoring that empowers you to monitor and manage all cloud-based and internet-centric environments that your customers and employees depend on. So let's look at the higher level components, right? So there are three main components with ThousandEyes. First is agents, then you have tests, and then you have the data that is generated with this tests. So agents, in other terminology, in ThousandEyes terminology, we call them as vantage points. So these vantage points are like agents that can be deployed inside or outside of your network. Okay, so we have basically like three types of agents. Like we have cloud, enterprise, and endpoint agents. So the enterprise agent and endpoint agent gives us an inside out view. What I mean to say that, like, it will give you your performance of your applications that are, let's say, running within your data center, right? So if you want to monitor the network performance of these, you use enterprise agents. And then cloud agent is like an outside in view. So clouds agents are distributed throughout globally. And let's say if you want to find the performance of your application from the users who are sitting all over the world, then you can use our cloud agents. The next is tests. Basically, we can create layer 3 to layer 7 tests, and the tests are nested within each other. And these tests can be run at various intervals from like every 1 minute to every few days. Okay, so you deploy the agents, you run the tests, and then that will generate data, right? So the data that is available, or I would say various metrics that ThousandEyes captures, can be used for running reports, creating dashboards, or alerts as needed. And mostly network performance related data like your latency, jitter, packet loss, all these are typical metrics that you can capture using ThousandEyes tests. So let's deep dive into the agents a little, right? So that you understand each of those use cases. First, as I said, it's cloud agent. So if customers, as I said, if your applications are used across all over the world, and your applications or tools are also distributed around the world using like SaaS, apps, or CDNs, right? These cloud agents are a great way to capture the user experience in these scenarios. Again, these agents are placed, as I said, globally in about 210 or 20 cities, about 60 odd countries, and we have about 800 plus. Maybe the count is more now, right? Like we have 800 plus agents that you can get, or where you can deploy or you can use, and you get your network performance, right? So these agents are actually managed by ThousandEyes. So these are very handy for getting started with Cisco ThousandEyes, since there is no setup or management by our customers, right? The next is enterprise agents. You can install enterprise agents on a many different types of devices and within your environment, right? So for example, your data center network devices like switches, right? So, or this enterprise agent can also be deployed in a virtual machine, right? It could be deployed in a standalone VM, or it could be deployed on Docker containers as well, right? So you have a variety of deployment options for enterprise agent. This actually is an agent that has to be managed by you, and this will give you like an inside out performance, right? So as I said, for example, if you have workers or you'll have employees working in a particular data center and they're accessing applications outside, for example, Office 365 or other applications that are sitting outside in the cloud, and you want to understand their performance, then you install or instrument enterprise agents. We also have endpoint agents. These are like installed on end user devices, right? So for example, your laptop or a desktop, and we do support both Windows as well as Mac as well, right? So yeah, so endpoint agents is where you deploy these in your end user devices, right? Again, this can monitor your Wi-Fi performance or your LAN performance, right? If users are connected to let's say your office Wi-Fi and see how their performance is, you can use endpoint agents. So again, to summarize, Cisco ThousandEyes provides you with these three different types of agents, which based on your use case, you can use and understand your end user experience. So now let's talk about the tests that you can create using any of these agents, right? So we have different layers of tests. So let's start with the bottom layer, which is a routing layer, right? So the routing layer is concerned with collecting routing information on the internet, providing you with a BGP or border gateway protocol test, right? So the internet basically works on ISPs, and big organizations are sharing the routing information between them. And I mean, using this test, you can understand your ISP performance, see what routes are they taking, if there are any flaps, right? Like if your routes are constantly flapping, you can, or there are unexpected path changes, you can get or identify issues using BGP test. Next is our network layer tests. So network layer consists of two different tests, like agent to server and agent to agent. Agent to server test is used for measuring the performance of a remote target server from our vantage points, right? Similarly, agent to agent test provides you with the same metrics, but in both the directions, okay? So by performing these tests, as I said, you could get core network metrics like latency, loss, jitter, and then you can understand your network performance. The next type of test we have is DNS layer tests. We have different kinds of DNS tests. This is just to monitor your DNS server. Again, I will not go into specifics of this, but you can refer to our documentation of what each test does. Or if you want more information, please reach out to your customer success manager, and we'll be happy to set up a one-on-one session in discussing these tests in detail. The next is the web layer, and this is where the application things come in from ThousandEyes. So in web layer, we have different tests like HTTP server, page load, transaction, and FTP. So in a high level, HTTP is just to understand whether your HTTP server or your URL is available or not. And we get higher level metrics like response time and throughput. With page load test, you go one step further, right? You understand your page performance. So we have something called a browser bot that runs and collects page performance. So when I say page performance, you get metrics like DOM component loads, or you get like a waterfall view of different times or different resources that are getting downloaded when your page loads, and how fast or slow are those, right? And then transaction test is basically emulating user interaction in a website, right? So this test performs scripted steps, and they're performed by our agent. So for example, if you want the user to log in, click on a particular screen, right? Go to this dashboard or perform this action and log out. So if this is your typical user flow, you can mimic that using transaction test. So yeah, and then finally we have also voice layer tests where you can perform a SIP as well as RTP stream tests. And this is to capture your voice performance, right? If your use case is that, if you want to understand your VoIP, for example, VoIP network, right? Like how my VoIP is performing, you can perform these tests. So yeah, I mean, ThousandEyes help create, you can create different kinds of tests depending upon your use case. And then each test captures different metrics, and then, which you can use to identify issues and potentially, fix them before they make a big business impact. So that's in a high level how ThousandEyes works. I know the most of the audience is from AppDynamics, right? So that's why I want to give a little more information on ThousandEyes so you understand what is ThousandEyes, what are different agents, and what kind of tests you can perform. So let's next talk about the integration benefits. Okay. So the benefit of integrating AppDynamics and ThousandEyes, right? So for example, right? So if on the left-hand side in my slide, you can see you have users and devices, right? Whether they are on the mobile, desktop, or browser, right? This is where your actual users start accessing your applications, right? And on the right-hand side, you have applications and services, which is basically where AppDynamics captures, right, all the performance metrics, correct? So on the left-hand side, you have users. You can measure your end user performance. On the right side, you can measure your applications and services performance. But there are things in the middle, right, which is basically your network, right? This is the part most of the time that our customers are having difficulty in finding if network or internet is causing the issues at their applications or their end users, right? And this is where the ThousandEyes fills the gap, right? So as I said, we have 1,000+ global points of presence, and it gives you real-time visibility into both your own networks as well as networks which are not owned by you, right? So finally, with the visibility of, with integrating both AppDynamics as well as ThousandEyes, you have your true end-to-end picture, right? So that it will help you understand if some issue is happening, is my application causing the issue, or is my network causing the issue, or there is something in between going on, right? So this is what makes Cisco's portfolio unique, where you can get full end-to-end visibility, and not only like each of personas. For example, like you have various personas, right? Like NetOps, AppOps, right? DevOps. Everyone can work together, especially the NetOps as well as AppOps can collaborate, look at the same data, and then understand the impact if there is an issue is happening, and identify and troubleshoot quickly. So yeah, this again, as you can see in this slide, the left-hand portion where you have user, internet, CDN providers, there is a network, right? And then your cloud and applications that are running in the cloud. Most of this is covered by our ThousandEyes, right? And on the right-hand side where you have applications, data, application infrastructure, and cloud-native applications, AppDynamics covers, right? So integrating both of them will give you a true end-to-end picture, and the result is most comprehensive, in-depth observability solution of the entire application delivery chain. So what you get, like when you do both of the integrations, what you get is a view like this, where basically you will be able to look at both your application metrics as well as network metrics at the same time, and then identify if there is a response time spike. Is it my application or is it due to my network, right? So by integrating both the solution, you will be able to accelerate root cause analysis by correlating real user monitoring data with network insights, right? So you use AppDynamics real user monitoring data along with the network insights that you get from ThousandEyes, so that you can accelerate your root cause analysis. You can, sync network tests creation between application maps for end-to-end monitoring, And basically what this helps you is to move from a reactive troubleshooting to a proactive optimization, right? So that it ensures seamless performance across infrastructure, application, and network layers. One another benefit that you get by integrating these solutions is like seamless navigation between the products, right? So on the left bottom, as you can see, this is an AppDynamics screen where you can, I'll cover this in the demo as well, but you can see that you can look at ThousandEyes tests from an AppDynamics portal and seamlessly click on the deep links, which will navigate you to the upper screen, which is the ThousandEyes tests. Similarly, by looking at ThousandEyes tests, you can dig down or drill down further into AppDynamics to a particular flow map, right, of that particular application, or if it's an endpoint, that particular endpoint flow map. So as you can see, you can seamlessly navigation between each solution, right? You can go from AppDynamics to ThousandEyes, ThousandEyes to AppDynamics, and vice versa. So these are all the benefits. Now let's talk about deployment, right? So in a high level, I want to let you know what are the prerequisites, right? So for this deployment, from a licensing and a subscription perspective, you need at least an AppDynamics mobile or browser real user monitoring licenses with a peak edition, right? That's from an AppDynamics perspective. And from a ThousandEyes perspective, you need to have an active subscription for ThousandEyes network and application synthetics. And also a point to note here is you need to have at least have one browser real user monitored application within AppDynamics, right? If you're just using APM, then this integration is not possible. From a product version requirements, AppDynamics, you should have a CSAS version, which is the SaaS version, and the controller build should be at least 23.4 or more. And as I said, you should have at least one browser application instrumented within AppDynamics for this integration to move forward. From a loads perspective, like depending upon, like when I say like for doing the actual integration, you need to have an account owner. And for looking at some of like syncing tests from AppDynamics, you need an analytics admin. So this is from a setup perspective, right? So if you want to deploy it, you should have at least an account owner to do the integration. And from ThousandEyes perspective, you need an organization admin or an account admin, right? So you need these privileges for the integration to be performed. These are the higher level steps involved. So let's start with AppDynamics, right? So the first step would be to obtain OAuth token from ThousandEyes, right? So since you are integrating AppDynamics with ThousandEyes, you need to get the token from ThousandEyes. We support OAuth, and then go into the admin page of AppDynamics, and there is a ThousandEyes integration page where you give the token and enable the integration. Once that is done, you actually go to ThousandEyes, and then similarly you get a token, or I would say for ThousandEyes integration, you just need to have like a basic authentication credentials or a OAuth credential from AppDynamics, and then you go into ThousandEyes, import that, create a new integration, which I'll cover in the demo as well, provide those token details, and then save and test the integration. Once you integrate these both, like using OAuth, then you go to ThousandEyes and create recommended tests, right? So basically, once you integrate ThousandEyes with AppD, all the application data along with the domains that are currently monitored by AppDynamics are passed to ThousandEyes, so that you can easily pick which application and the domain that you want to create a test on, right? And everything is automated for you. So you create recommended, like the tests are recommended based on AppDynamics applications and domains, and you simply have to select that and then move forward with deploying those tests. So once you deploy those tests, the tests will be running. You can get the data, or you can view the data in ThousandEyes. Similarly, once you go to AppDynamics, you just need to perform one-time sync. So once you do a sync with ThousandEyes in AppDynamics side, you get all the network metrics which are matching with the domains that are tested in ThousandEyes. So I'll go in the demo, but this in a high level are the steps involved. So let's move forward with the demo, and let me start sharing my screen and we can start the demo. All right, so we are in the ThousandEyes page. So basically, once you log in, like it's a SaaS portal, right? So you go to app.thousandeyes.com and then you simply log in. Once you log in, you will be redirected to the ThousandEyes dashboard page. So in order to integrate ThousandEyes with AppDynamics, basically the first step is on the ThousandEyes side. You go to like manage, which is on the left-hand panel. You see a manage screen, and then there is a integrations options, right? So once you go in there, right now we already have some integrations in this organization, but I'll just go through the steps, right? So you go to manage, and then you go to manage integrations, and you click on new integration. So ThousandEyes can be integrated with variety of products and solutions. So what we are trying to present here is AppDynamics, right? Similarly, ThousandEyes can be integrated with Slack, PagerDuty, Splunk using OpenTelemetry, and we have other integrations as well. But in order to perform AppDynamics integration, you just need to select AppDynamics. And in a high level, there are two integrations possible. One is test recommendations, other is alert notifications. So basically, test recommendations is nothing but once you do a test recommendations integration, ThousandEyes will pull all the applications that are monitored within AppDynamics along with the domains, right? So when I say domain, for example, if you take end user experience monitoring, you will have a browser application, and then there are pages that are, monitored within AppDynamics, right? So whatever domain that page is hitting, right? For example, google.com is a domain, right? So those domains are passed to ThousandEyes, and then you can pick those domains within ThousandEyes and start creating tests, right? So if that is test recommendations integration. Alert notifications is another type of integration where you simply, let's say, if you want to send a ThousandEyes alert to AppDynamics as a custom event, right? So you can do that, right? So with this alert notifications integration, any anomalies or any alerts that are detected within ThousandEyes can be sent to AppDynamics as a custom event, so that, right, you have all alerts in one platform, right? So when you're triaging an issue within AppDynamics, if you see alerts from application along with alerts from ThousandEyes, then you know something going on the network side, right? Pretty quickly. But that's the other integration, right? It doesn't matter which integration, the process is same. You just need to click on this, and you give integration a name. For example, D test integration, right? You can give any name, right? And then you paste the AppDynamics SaaS portal, right? Right, and then you choose between basic or OAuth, right? So if you're going to OAuth, if you're going to use OAuth, right? Basic is basically username, password, right? You can use that way, but the more secure one is OAuth. If you want to use OAuth, then obviously you have to generate an API client within AppDynamics, right? So the process to do that is pretty simple. So once you log into AppDynamics, you go to administration page, and then click on API clients. And within this, you go create a new API client, right? Just need to give a client name, description, and generate a secret, right? So for example, I already created one previously where, ThousandEyes, right? So yes, so I created a secret from here. And if you want, you can also generate a temporary access token. And once you do that within AppDynamics, you can copy the secret and token and go back to ThousandEyes, and then just give that client secret here. If you don't have a temporary token, you can always click get token to get a temporary token. Token URL, we have it in our documentation. You can follow along. The client ID will be whatever ID that we saw here, right? In this case, it's ThousandEyes, right? So client ID will be ThousandEyes @ whatever tenant name that you have. So yeah, for OAuth, you need these details, and for basic, you just need your username and password, right? Depending upon, we support both options. Once you provide that information, you select whether you want to do it test recommendations integration or connection to an alert notification survey. So basically both these integrations, right? You choose one of the option, and then simply in the bottom page, you have a test. And once the test is successful, you can save it, right? So let me show you whatever is configured in this environment, right? So in case of test recommendations, as you can see, this is my integration name. This is my controller, right? The token URL, the client ID, and the secret and token. And this is a test recommendations integration, right? You also have the opportunity to test this. Similarly, if it's an alert notification, you can, this is the integration, right? Now, when you choose an alert notification, again, everything else is same except that you have to choose an application name and optional tier or node or a business transaction name. Basically, when you are sending alerts, obviously you should understand which application within AppDynamics those alerts are sent to, right? That's why you need to input that information in ThousandEyes for alerting integration. Just keep in mind, if you want to send alerts to multiple applications, then you have to create multiple integrations within ThousandEyes. But from a test recommendations perspective, it is just one per controller, right? You can only create one integration for test recommendations. So yeah, so that's what you do within ThousandEyes as far as integration setup is concerned. Once this integration is set up, all you have to do, the next step is actually test creation, right? So as a part of test creation steps, you go to network and app synthetics and then say test settings. And from here, again, these are the tests that are already running within my environment. But if you're starting fresh, then you can click start monitoring. And once you click on that, once you click on this, if you have already performed the integration before, you would see AppDynamics applications getting popped up within ThousandEyes, right? So in this case, this is an example application, right? So yeah, if you have multiple applications, every application will show up here. Then, and this is, I mean, this section is for ThousandEyes based recommendations, right? I mean, there are other templates that you could use for testing other, other sources, or I would say other requirements. But from an AppD perspective, it is all automated, right? So you enable the integration, you can see all the AppDynamics applications, and you click on any application and the endpoints, right? So in this case, these are like a couple of endpoints that are getting tested within this application, right? So you can pick a particular endpoint, click on configure tests on the bottom, and then you will be redirected to a workflow. Again, the workflow is pretty simple. All you have to do is select the agents that you would like to run this particular test, and then choose the time, like whether you want to run in every 2 minutes, every 5 minutes, and then give your template a particular name, right? So once, like, you can choose any, again, this is a workflow, you should give a name, right? So once you do all this and then review the template and submit, the tests will be deployed on their own, right? No other configuration or nothing else is needed. Everything is automated. So once you submit this template, what it does is, it, again, the deployment summary you can see here, right? It will create a page load test. Again, we talked about different kinds of tests. In this case, depending upon the app domain, ThousandEyes suggested a page load test, as well as a label will be created and a dashboard will be created. Okay, so this is how, this is how the test deployment process works. Again, this is in a very high level, right? But bottom line is, you just need to understand that it's all automated. Once you enable the integration, you can see all the AppDynamics applications. You just have to pick which application and which domains or endpoints that you want to test and select the agents. Again, when you are selecting an agent, it could be an enterprise agent, it could be a cloud agent, right? Again, enterprise agent and cloud agent you use depending upon your use case. Generally, if, as I said, like cloud, I mean, again, if you want to monitor an endpoint which is used within your data center, then you use an enterprise agent, right? And if you are testing some backend APIs or third-party services which are running in the cloud or whatever, then you use cloud agents. So either way, I mean, you simply select the agent, the time, and then review the template for example, right? And then, sorry, yeah, you just have to pick an agent, click on review template, and then once you do that and hit deploy, right? And then this will start deploying those tests for you, right? So you just say deploy now. Again, I'm not going to deploy this because everything is monitored already. But yeah, once you deploy, then you go to your test settings within ThousandEyes, and all these are different tests, right? So for example, our browser app is, like reaching out to cdn.appdynamics.com, or there might be other endpoints. So once a test is created, you can open the test in views, and then you can get all the metrics related to ThousandEyes here, right? So again, I'm going to cover in detail of what metrics are captured, what data is, exchanged between both the solutions in our upcoming session. This session is more about deployment and how you need to deploy. So yeah, so once you deploy, you will see all the tests that are created within ThousandEyes, right? Now, let's move on to AppDynamics, right? So from an AppDynamics perspective, first is the integration piece, right? So you go to AppDynamics, go to administration. There is an integrations page here, right? Within the integrations, there is ThousandEyes, right? In this environment, the deployment is already done. But let's say if you are starting fresh, right, things will look like this. You just have to enable ThousandEyes, and then give an OAuth bearer token here, right? Now, where do you get the bearer token from ThousandEyes? You need to go back to ThousandEyes, go to manage, and under account settings, go to users and roles. And if you scroll down, this is where you can get the OAuth bearer token from. So you just create a new one. In this case, there is already one, but when you're starting fresh, you can generate a bearer token and then go back to the AppDynamics, give the token, right? And then give bearer and token and whatever it is, right? You paste it and then your integration, and then simply save that, right? So that's how you integrate within AppDynamics using OAuth token from ThousandEyes. Yeah, once you do the integration within AppDynamics, you go to user experience and the end user monitored application, right? In this case, in this controller, I have one, right? You just need to, there is a sync with ThousandEyes button. Currently in this environment, it is disabled, but since I don't have the necessary privileges, but all you have to do is you have to just say sync with ThousandEyes. Then what this does is the information about the various domains that you set up tests in ThousandEyes are passed to AppDynamics, right? So here you can see once you do sync with ThousandEyes, the domains that are tested within ThousandEyes, that data is passed into AppDynamics, and you can see how many tests. Currently, there are 3 tests, right? So currently, there are 3 different tests that are getting tested in ThousandEyes. That particular test information along with the metrics are passed to AppDynamics. So you just have to simply say sync with ThousandEyes. If at all there is a sync problem, then there are other ways to sync the data as well, right? But once you sync with ThousandEyes, you have the domains here and you can open AppDynamics, right? In this case, again, this is, sorry. So yeah, this is our end user monitoring dashboard. If you are familiar with AppDynamics, and you have different ThousandEyes network insights widget, right? So you have a widget that if it's not there, you can always add, right? Once you add it, for whatever tests that you are performing within ThousandEyes, right? Like in this case, we had 3, right, which are synced. So whatever tests that are performed within ThousandEyes, you can see that information, as well as the relevant network insights, right? When I say network insights, the major metrics are latency, packet loss, and jitter. These are the 3 major network metrics that are passed from your ThousandEyes tests to AppDynamics. And whenever you are, let's say, I'm looking at last 1 hour data, but if you look at, let's say, last 1 day data, then you can see a smooth curve. And if there is an end user response spike here, you can, along with application metrics, look at network metrics and see if there is a spike at the same time, and then maybe think this is like an ThousandEyes issue, right? In our upcoming session, I'll go over more details on how to take a use case of a troubleshooting scenario. But these are the ThousandEyes metrics that are captured via the tests that we created in ThousandEyes. And one good thing is, again, you can filter it. You can filter it by those 3 tests. If you just want to look at the data from one test, you can filter that. Similarly, like different locations, the test will be run right in ThousandEyes. Based on whichever locations you selected, you can further filter it. Okay. One good thing is you can navigate seamlessly. I talked about that benefit, right? So let's say if you see a particular test has a spike in latency, at the same time, my application metrics are spiking. You can simply click on view tests and go to that particular test, and you can launch ThousandEyes from here itself. Okay. So once you launch, you click on this button, it will take you to the ThousandEyes directly to that particular test, right? So as you can see, the availability again is green, everything is fine. But let's say if there is a spike, then you can look at various ThousandEyes metrics like HTTP availability, or if you want to look at loss, latencies, and jitters, and how your network packets are, going from hop to hop. I mean, we'll cover this in troubleshooting scenario, but you saw how easy it was to navigate to ThousandEyes from AppDynamics, right? Similarly, if you're triaging from ThousandEyes and you want to launch AppDynamics, right? Then you can simply click on dependent applications. This data ThousandEyes pulls from AppD. So you have your application health. Again, if it's green, it's healthy. If it's red, then there is some problem going on with an application. You can look at various service dependencies. Also, you can launch AppDynamics from ThousandEyes, right? So if someone is starting troubleshooting with ThousandEyes, you look at the data or something is going on, or maybe my network is all fine. I want to monitor ThousandEyes or AppDynamics. You can simply launch AppDynamics from ThousandEyes, and it'll take you to the exact flow map of the particular endpoint where the test is happening, right? So yeah, so as you can see, we were able to seamlessly navigate between ThousandEyes and AppDynamics, and we looked at steps on how to integrate both of them, right? How to test, how to create recommended, how AppDynamics recommends some tests that you can create within ThousandEyes. Once the tests are created, you can sync the data and then look both of them in side by side, right? So for example, right, like we saw, right? So when we go to end user experience, we can look at your application metrics as well as network insights together, and then troubleshoot or look at the performance, right? Do whatever is required. So I think I'm going to stop here. Again, this session is all about integrating, how to integrate both the solutions, and what is required, right, from a prerequisites perspective. In the upcoming session, we will cover various data exchange that is happening between both the solutions, all the metrics that are generated, and how you can make sense of those metrics, create alerts, or create dashboards as required, right? So we'll cover that in the upcoming session. So I will pass it back to Chris for the Q&A session.
Great job. That was a really good presentation. Helped us all understand how to set things up, what you would get out of it, some of the differences between the two, and how they complement each other. Very well done, Sri. So now that was a pretty thorough explanation. Again, we have a lot more use case examples and more to cover for next session, but we're trying to save some. So, but by all means, if there's any questions, please bring them up. I see Sai has been busy answering questions, but if there's any more, let's go ahead and bring those up. So these are enablements meant to help you be successful with the products that we support in observability. Cisco has a lot to offer, especially now with Splunk joining underneath the Cisco umbrella, and then Splunk AppDynamics getting put in that toolbox essentially. So we have powerful offerings from Splunk. We have, the secure app. We have, the ThousandEyes. We just have a ton of different things that you can use and integrate, making Splunk AppDynamics bigger and better. Considering it's been around since 2008, there's a lot out there, and it's only getting better. So awesome for everybody that's using it now and that wants to see the power that's going to be unlocked going further. With that being said, it is a strong product in observability, but now Cisco has a lot of different products. And what if you're interested in getting some certifications? Everyone's into getting the, excuse me, everyone's into getting the little badges for their either their profiles or for their signature on their email, or say that you're just a person building up your resume. Check out the Cisco University, u.cisco.com. There is a wealth of training that you can take. If you're already a customer of either Splunk, AppDynamics, Cisco, you would be able to start looking at the on-demand, kind of go at your own pace learning. And then you also have the option of joining instructor-led courses, not so much like this, where it's just kind of enabling you, telling you a story, explaining how to do things. It's more of a lab, and you're able to get your hands on a lab environment and start practicing and taking tests and things that would go towards a certification test. So definitely check that out. It's kind of the next step on top of, getting that practical experience with us, setting it up, getting a couple, maybe successful use cases going. And then if you want to deep dive, get certification, get that specialization, get that addition to your resume, go check out Cisco U. But while you're getting over to it, and you're working up to being able to do that, check us out on YouTube. We have a lot of really good content, short videos, long videos, topics about everything that we do with Splunk AppDynamics and the observability tools that we have here at Cisco. We're going to be adding more and more. All of it, including what you see today, is all from feedback from you guys, from our customers, from our community base, letting us know, hey, we don't see good videos on this. Hey, we could use more information, more instruction on expanding the product, etc. So go check us out, youtube.com and then /@ Cisco Observability. Like I said, there's a lot of good options there for you. We're going to be creating more shorts. It is allowed for you to put in comments. So if there's something that you would like to see more of, or if you have some feedback on something that we have created, please feel free to do so. We're looking forward to it, and we just want to keep creating content that's going to be the most usable and most of most valuable, or of most value to you. If I can talk, I'm sorry. So yes, give us feedback. Let us know how we can help. Let us know what other content you want to see, and hopefully this was helpful. These are always successful when you guys show up and you guys contribute. You guys were asking questions. You guys were engaged. So thank you for that, and we'll see you next time. On the 20th, we'll be going over more of the use cases, troubleshooting, navigation within the controller, and kind of, unlocking or showing what you have unlocked today and how you can use it tomorrow. Thank you all, and see you next time.